Hi guys, I'm Dan at vintagevelo.org and we are back in the workshop today, so we get a chance to finally build up the Carrera Asics team bike we have here. Those of you who remember early last year, I picked this up. It wasn't really intentional because it really was not good. It was one of the ugliest, worst things I think I've ever bought. And I bought some pretty ugly bikes, I've got to be honest. Now, the main reason why I bought it, I wanted the head badge. I didn't really realise what the rest of it was attached to it because, unfortunately, post its racing career, this bike had been, mostly stripped of its paint, repainted at least twice, and then the final insult, it had been hand painted with a really thick, like black hammer white over everything, including all the chrome, the forks, the lot. And it was almost impossible to tell what it was, and it did take quite a bit of investigation and detailed stripping and everything else to try and figure out just what this was. Turns out 1997 Carrera Asics CGA team bike, ridden by Marco Bellini. Not a common known name, but hey, he was there with Claudio Chiapucci and the like, so still a great rider for the time. And what we have here, we actually have a Dario Pegoretti made SLX framed or TSX, one of the two, always get them confused, with steel framed lugged construction bike. It's got Cinelli lugs throughout and the Carrera marked bottom bracket on here as well. We have the late pattern chrome forks and a chrome rear triangle. It's a really cool bike. Once I got it all stripped back and repainted, it's a thing of beauty. Now, to be fair, it's quite conservative. When you think this is Pro Peloton, 1997, it's a pretty wild time, not just for drugs. The Asics CGA team that this was in 1997, it was their relatively staid blue. The year later, they went to a blue, white and orange fade to match the tops, and they were super cool. And I did actually ask you chaps whether I should stick with the blue or just mimic the following year's colours. But we did go with the blue, and you were right, the blue was the way to go. Keep it, as close to how it was. That's definitely the way forward. We're going to go ahead now and build this one up. And the good thing is, that year, my favourite group set, we have Campagnolo Record 9-speed Titanium. They were using it this year. Previous years they've been on Shimano, but 97 they were on Campagnolo, which is excellent. Got the group set here ready to go. Can't wait to get this together. However, the first thing I have just noticed is that the on my forks, which hey, they did not look like this when they started out. Had to polish the life out of these things. The thread on the top actually is too tight. It's a little bit of damage on there, or corrosion. So I have got my hardly ever used fork rethreading tool, and I'm going to have to recut this thread. So bear with me just for the moment. Yeah, that went on there so much better. To be fair, when you're putting anything that's old back together again, if you find a bad thread or something that you can feel is binding, not quite right, stop, get it apart, and then just get on eBay. You can find the taps and the dies all over the place and just rethread it. Just cut that thread, just clean it out, and everything then goes better back together a lot better. Saves wrecking anything, now we're good. Now, interestingly, a couple of you did actually ask when we were putting this together on the paint. you know, Carrera in 1997 didn't technically exist. And you are kind of right. What happened was, obviously, the Carrera team we remember from the Roche-Vicencini era, back in the late 80s, when Roche did the Triple Crown in 87. And then moving onwards from there, and you obviously had Vicencini, and then Guido Bontempi kicking it in the sprint. You got that era of Carrera with the red, white, and blue battalions that we have. One of we have Guido Bontempi's. I rode it only a few weeks ago at the London to Brighton Sportive. You've got that era. And then not long after that, when Roche kind of falls back, as does Vicencini, you then get the rise of Claudio Chiapucci, and the devil himself. He's a truly great rider. If you don't know much about Chiapucci, definitely look him up. And he was one of the few at the start of the early 90s to go toe-to-toe with the great Miguel Indurain. You know, they really went for it, and he refused to accept any kind of defeat for what was, you know, effectively the all-conqueror. And then in 92, 93, on comes the greatest climber of all time, Marco Pantani. And he stays with the Carrera team using the kind of blue and white look that you see from him at that point. He stays with the Carrera team up until 1997. And for the 1997 season, basically, and it's not a surprise, but Chiapucci and it can't really share the limelight with Pantani, who is clearly like the proper rising star at that point. The team splits. That's not really much of a surprise, and it kind of splits straight down the middle. Carrera, the Carrera bikes stick with Chiapucci, and he takes half the team and the team management, and they become Asics CGA. And Pantani and his guys, Zainier and the others, they become Mercatoni Uno. And they go off their Villiers bikes, I think, for the first year before going on to the iconic Mega Pro Bianchi. So that's kind of what happens. And this is that 1997 year where they're there to support Chiapucci. Maybe not their greatest move. Interestingly, I was actually watching an online documentary about Claudio Chiapucci, and perhaps a little bit of his, and it was to do with the red blood cell count, if you know what I mean. But it did have in there some fantastic footage of that 1997 season, early stuff, training camps, things like that, and they're all bowling around on these blue and chrome Pegoretti made Carreras. Fantastic. I mean, finding period pics of that point is very, very difficult. They don't really exist much. There are very few around. So to find loads of footage of the team itself was great. So I was able to, you know, complete a few little detail checks and stuff like that. But we're going to go ahead in a moment, get the bottom bracket on. I always just like putting on brakes. I don't know why. They go on so well. These are, because we're in 1997, early pattern. So these are still single pivot Campagnolo records. I don't think they went to dual until the year after. I may be wrong, and I often am. So the bottom bracket on the Record 9 is a very nice record, sealed bottom bracket here. The debate over sealed or loose bearing bottom brackets and things like that, I'm going to be honest, A, I never really notice the difference when I'm riding. B, these are really good quality, and yeah, I know they're hard to get into to re-grease or anything like that, but as long as it's a good part, you've got a lot of miles before you've got to worry, and it's a lot less messy. One thing that is always interesting about these, they say left and right on the cups, which is great, and you kind of look at that and you think, actually that's never going to fit on there. I wonder why that is, but they actually they're designed to kind of be quite close fitting in there, so that is how it is. So don't panic and just pop it on. For the cranks, obviously we're going with the Campagnolo Record cranks. They are lovely. These are 1/70 long, but it doesn't really bother me on the length as long as they're not crazy short or crazy long. It's absolutely fine. And these are, you know, 52/39s. Trying where possible to kind of get away from 53s or 54s on the outers now. I think it's age or just my knees, but it is slightly easier on a 52 than a 53. But hey, often it's what it comes with, really. Where's the correct Allen key? It's quite a beefy one. Nope. Yes. Right. Now, okay. I've got one of these really lovely ITM stems. This one's a 110 in length and a really nice ITM Pro 260 set of bars. These are actually my favourite, about 40, 42 in width. I'm not a fan of anything too small. It tends to hurt my shoulders. I'll happily ride a 44, but a 42 or 40 is spot on for me. However, can I get the little ITM cover out? No, I can't get access to the bolt. Oh, some things are set to test you. Right, let me use a little knife, a little bit of pressure, and then cut straight through my finger. Now I'll come back and finally set that later. But for reference, that little ITM thing like that actually goes in not upwards, but comes out from the side. So if you're ever doing one of them, that's how they go. Should have known that a moment ago. No blood though. I'm going to put that down as a small victory. Now, as much as I love record 9-speed, I do have one tiny little gripe. It's the location of the Allen bolt to tighten up the clamp on the ergo shifter. It's right up in there, and it is a right faff. You've got to peel that rubber right back to get in on it. And we know how these old rubbers get. They do get quite brittle and likely to split. And it's a bit of a faff, and as you're playing around in there, sometimes this little bit here comes off in your hand. That, you know, patience. It's what we need. I'm always being told I need to be more patient. I think some people are right. So, wheel choice I'm going for, you know, could be a bit controversial, maybe divisive, I don't know. But I've gone for these very cool looking period Fera blue anodized rims, and I've color coded my blue record hubs to match as well. Now, reason for this, remember, late 90s. So the year after, as we said, the blue, white, orange fade, they had orange Fera rims with orange hubs. Super cool. So I figured, you know, hey, this is a pretty conservative bike. Let's go full 90s with the blue ano rims. I think they are going to look really cool, but we'll see when it's finally built up. The cassette is now here and on there, so we can go ahead, get this on here, and then chain time, I think. Yeah, I've seen me do this a few times on the chain, but if you are sizing up a new chain and you don't have your old one for reference, big cog, and then add a couple of links and go from there. It's easier to reduce down than try and put them back on. But if you're really careful with your chain removal tool, you can always leave that bit just sticking out there, so you can quite happily push that back in if you do need to extend at any time. But that does take a little bit of patience and practice to get it there. By allowing 2 links on the chain length is too short. I'll show you what I mean by that. I'll just change this on up and I'll get you in close. Everything looks good, you know, everything's changing lovely. I was just playing around with the indexing, and then it's hard to get into the top gear. And let me get you in closer. 1 second. Okay, if we look here, this is far too extreme, and although you can't feel it, you can actually see here as I turn the pedal, you can kind of, it's almost like notchy, and yeah, obviously that's not right, so I'm going to have to open this up, add an extra link, which is kind of handy, that I was able to pop one of the links out to with the kind of middle bit still intact. So let's cut this apart and see you in a moment. Nice. Bound to need a little tweaking out on the road, but I love how simple indexing a Record 9 is. They really do work well as long as everything is good on the componentry, and that's spot on. So no doubt on the road, little tweaking here and there, but that fair to say that indexing went pretty well. We're on to the finishing touches, not least to say bar tape. Yeah, period correct bar tape for this would be that horrific 1990s blue and white spackle, and I'm gonna be honest, I can carry off blue anno rims, that I can do, but one thing I just can't do is that old school 90s blue, white, or just that spackle effect rim, bar tape. I just can't bring myself to do it. I think it's because I've thrown away and taken off so much of that when it's knackered. I just can't do it. So this nice blue kind of bar tape will just do a lovely job of finishing the bike off. Now, if you want tips on how to do your bar tape, just Google it and look on YouTube. There are whole videos done by better people than me on how to do your bar tape. There are several different ways. Most people will insist that their way of doing it is the correct method and that whatever way you're doing it is incorrect. I'm not entirely certain as to which is best. I just try and make a nice, neat, tight job of it. And as long as there are no horrible lumps and bumps, job done, because chances are in a year or two, I'm going to swap it out for new stuff anyway. Well, it's fair to say I am really pleased with how this one has come out. If you remember, it has been a fair journey with this frame. Rescued it on eBay like a year and a half ago when I was just looking for the badge. It was a horrifically abused frame of forks, covered in that thick black paint. All the history had pretty much been wiped out, but with a load of research and careful work, we figured out that it was a 1997 Asics CGA Carrera team bike made by the fair hands of Dario Pegoretti and ridden by the almost unheard of Marco Bellini, Italian pro rider for the team at that time. And here it is now in all of its glory. The paint, yeah, you guys were right. The blue was the right way to go, the correct blue, rather than the blue, orange, white fade of the year after. My favourite ever group set, Record 9 Titanium, is on here. Can't wait to put that through its paces. And I'm a big fan of the blue anno rims for that period. Obviously we're talking 1997. It's a bit of a wild period for bikes, especially, you know, like, well, it's a pretty conservative steel lugged frame. Sure, we're looking at TSX throughout, we're looking at Cinelli lugs, and it's beautifully made by Pegoretti, but at the same point, you could have had an alley frame, you could have had a titanium frame, or you could have had a carbon fibre frame, all in the peloton, often all on the same team at the same time. So it's going to be fascinating to see how this one goes. Speaking of how it goes, When are we going to get out there and ride it? Well, not soon. It's currently raining, so we're going to wait. I've just entered that hell of the Ashdown race, the horrific winter sportive that goes out of Westerham in Kent, but kind of mid-winter. So it may go there. I'm tempted to enter its sister race, the Kentish Killer. That's like the week after. Again, a horrible winter thing. So what this may appear in one of those, put it through its paces. And I do like putting these through their paces on a good long ride. You can't really tell enough about a bike for a half-hour spin around. You really need to get it out there and get a good few hours under the saddle to really understand it. Anyway, no idea what the next video is, but do like and subscribe for anything else that's cool to do with vintage. Hang on, I do know what the next video is. Tandems. I have finally picked up a tandem. I convinced Mrs. Vintage Fellow that it was a good idea that we invest in a tandem, and so of course I got carried away and bought two of them. There is reason and a long story, and it does always involve eBay and a mistake. But you will see the tandem soon. We're going to get in here and go through that, make sure it is roadworthy. Anyway, do like and subscribe for anything else that's cool to do with vintage bikes. Thanks a lot.